Some people walk into a room and the energy shifts toward them before they say a single word. Crowds lean in, doubters go quiet. Millions hand them their trust, their money, even their belief, and often can't explain why. We tell ourselves we follow leaders because of their ideas. The uncomfortable truth is that we follow them because of how they make our brains feel. This isn't about politics, and it isn't about one person. It's about five psychological forces that operate beneath your awareness, the hidden machinery of influence. Once you can see them, no confident leader will ever look the same to you again. Before we start, understand this. None of these forces are magic, and none of them require intelligence to work. They exploit shortcuts your brain takes to survive. Your mind processes thousands of signals a second, and it cannot afford to analyze each one. So it relies on rules of thumb, fast, ancient, mostly invisible. Confident leaders, knowingly or not, press exactly the buttons those shortcuts respond to. Let's break down all five. The first force is certainty bias. Your brain treats confidence as evidence. When someone speaks with total conviction, no hedging, no maybe, no I think, a part of your mind registers that certainty as truth before it ever checks the facts. Researchers have found that we rate confident speakers as more competent and more believable, even when they're flat out wrong. Think about that. The feeling of certainty in another person bypasses your critical thinking. A leader who never shows doubt isn't necessarily right, but to your nervous system, they feel right. And in a noisy, uncertain world, the person who sounds sure becomes a lighthouse people steer toward. Doubt is honest, but certainty is magnetic. The second force is dominance cues. Long before humans had language, we read bodies. A straight spine, a slow and steady gaze, an unhurried voice that drops at the end of a sentence, hands that move with purpose. These are ancient signals of rank. Your brain scans for them automatically and assigns status in milliseconds. Confident leaders occupy space. They don't fidget, they don't rush, they don't shrink. They pause when others would fill silence. And here's the trick your mind plays. It confuses the signal of dominance with the substance of competence. Someone who looks like they're in control gets treated as though they are in control, whether or not they actually know what they're doing. We are still primates reading the posture of the alpha. The third force is the fluency effect, and it's the most underestimated of them all. Your brain loves things that are easy to process, easy to hear, easy to remember, easy to repeat. Psychologists call this processing fluency, and we mistake that ease for truth. This is why confident leaders speak in short, punchy, repeatable lines, not complex policy, slogans, three-word phrases, simple stories with clear villains and clear heroes. The message slides into your memory with no friction, and because it feels easy, it feels true. A nuanced expert who fills every sentence with caveats sounds smart but forgettable. A leader who repeats one simple line 100 times rewires what feels obvious to you. Repetition isn't just persuasion. Repetition manufactures truth. If you're starting to recognize these forces in leaders you've watched or in how they've worked on you, that recognition is exactly what this channel exists for. We decode the hidden psychology running underneath everyday life. Subscribe and stay with me, because the last two forces are the ones that turn a confident individual into a movement. The fourth force is social proof, and it's the one that scales. When we're uncertain about what to do, we look at what everyone else is doing and copy it. It's an ancient survival rule. If the herd is running, run first and ask later. Confident leaders understand this instinctively. They never say a few people agree with me. They say everyone knows this. Millions are with us. Look at this crowd. The size of the following becomes the argument. Because once your brain sees that many people already believe, it stops asking whether the belief is correct and starts asking, how do I join? Belief becomes contagious. The crowd isn't just an audience, it's the proof. And the bigger it grows, the more irresistible joining it becomes. The fifth force is the most counterintuitive, the anti-fragile frame. You'd expect attacks, scandals, and mockery to destroy a leader. For the most magnetic ones, the opposite happens. Opposition makes them stronger. Here's the psychology. When a leader frames every attack as proof that powerful enemies fear them, criticism stops being damaging and becomes evidence of importance. The followers don't see a flaw exposed. They see their hero under siege, and they rally harder. This flips the normal rules of accountability upside down. Facts that should weaken the leader get absorbed as fuel. The tighter the establishment squeezes, the more devoted the base becomes. A leader who masters this frame becomes almost impossible to discredit from the outside, because every outside attack is rewritten in the follower's mind as confirmation. Now here's something worth sitting with. None of this is new. If you read history, the same five forces appear again and again in every era and every culture. The general who never showed fear, the preacher whose simple promise spread faster than any complicated truth, the figure whose enemies only made the faithful believe harder. The faces change. The technology changes, from the public square to the radio to the screen in your hand. But the machinery underneath is identical because it isn't running on the leader. It's running on us. The wiring that made these forces work on a crowd 2,000 years ago is the same wiring sitting behind your eyes right now. So step back and look at all five together. Certainty that bypasses your judgment. Dominance your body reads as competence. Fluency that disguises repetition as truth. Social proof that makes the crowd the argument. And an anti-fragile frame that turns every attack into fuel. Individually, each is a small mental shortcut. Stacked together in one person, they create a gravitational pull that millions experience as inspiration, and almost no one recognizes as mechanics. Now here's the question that actually matters. Knowing this isn't about becoming a cynical, and it isn't about never admiring anyone again. It's about choosing consciously. So how do you protect your own mind? Start with a simple habit. Separate the messenger from the message. Write down what a leader is actually claiming, stripped of their tone, their crowd, and their confidence. And ask whether the bare claim still holds up. Notice when you feel certainty without evidence. That feeling is the signal, not the proof. And be most skeptical exactly when something feels easiest to believe, because fluency is precisely where your guard drops. The next time you feel that magnetic pull towards someone confident, a politician, a CEO, a guru, an influencer, pause and run the checklist. Is it their ideas moving me, or their certainty, their competence or their posture, the substance or just how easily it goes down? That single pause is the entire difference between following someone because you've decided to and being pulled along because your wiring was never asked for permission. Confidence is not the same thing as truth. The moment you can feel the difference, you take your mind back. Five forces, one pattern. If this changed the way you see the people the world calls leaders, you already know what the next step is. Whether you love him or can't stand him, one thing is impossible to deny. When Donald Trump walks into a room, people react. Cameras turn, crowds roar, opponents tense up, and millions of people across the entire world feel something they can't quite explain. This video isn't about politics. It's about the psychological machinery underneath that reaction.